Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today we are looking at Volume 3 of the Second Doctor Adventures, Conspiracy of Raven. Sorry, I just got 14 Sonic and wanted to show it off. Anyway, Conspiracy of Raven was released in July of 2024, written by Mark Wright and Nicholas Briggs, and directed by Nicholas Briggs. Conspiracy of Raven stars Michael Troughton as the Second Doctor, Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon, and Wendy Padbury as Zoe Harriet. As always, because I do these unscripted, I am putting a blanket spoiler warning in place in the off chance I do decide to talk about spoilers. So if you do not wish to be spoiled for anything I'm talking about today, in the description box below is the link to Big Finish's website where you can purchase the Second Doctor Adventures Volume 3, Conspiracy of Raven. Before we progress any further, I want to apologize real quick, just in case you might hear some background noise. Presumably, I haven't edited the video yet, so I don't know how it'll pick up, but in my home state, it is over 100 degrees today. It is hot, so I have my ceiling fan on full blast trying to cool things down. So that is probably what you're hearing. So anyway, this set consists of 3 one-hour stories, which are 2 parts each in the Classic Who serialized format. We have Kippers by Nick Briggs, Catastrophe Theory by Mark Wright, and The Vanishing Point, co-written by Briggs and Wright. If I'm being honest, I think this is the weakest set in the range so far. Beyond War Games was fantastic. It was a really strong start for the series, and a really good setup for how Big Finish was going to be doing Season 6B. Volume 2, James Robert McCrimmon, was a step down, but it was really fun, especially the chemistry between Michael Troughton and Fraser Hines. And Conspiracy of Raven is again a step down from James Robert McCrimmon, so we kind of seem to be dipping here, at least in terms of quality. Hopefully Volume 4 will pick things up, because we know there's going to be a Volume 4, given how this set ends. Spoilers, this set ends on a cliffhanger. But more on that in a bit. Normally when I do box set reviews, I rank the stories what I think was the weakest to the strongest. I'm not gonna do that because I just don't feel strongly about any of these stories. That's overall my big problem with Conspiracy of Raven. Like, the emotional investment I had in the previous 2 sets, I just don't have here. There is good things about it, certainly, but it's just, I wasn't invested the way I was before. I think the biggest issue, is that this set is trying to do too much. It's trying to do entirely too much. So each story is kind of self-contained. There is a narrative through line going on, but along with that narrative through line, these sets are trying to do their own things as well, and just the hour runtime that they have is not enough to do it. Like, let me use the second story, Catastrophe Theory, as an example. So, what Catastrophe Theory does is, one, it sort of gotta figure out how I'm formatted here. One, it continues the narrative through line that started in Kippers. 2, it reintroduces Zoe into the Season 6B format. Gonna go on that in a little bit later. 3, it reunites the Doctor and Jamie. They were separated at the start of this set. 4, it sets up what Raven's subplot is going to be for the remainder of the set. And then 5, in the vein of Season 6B, the Celestial Intervention Agency sending the Doctor on missions, the Doctor goes on 2 missions in this story as well. For an hour story, that is asking a lot. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. And again, like I said, this set ends on a cliffhanger that's going to set up the next set. But it feels like Wright and Briggs wanted this to be a 4-story box set, but that 4th story got cut, so they tried to dissolve elements of what would have been that 4th story into the other three. This is pure speculation. I don't know exactly what happened. And who knows, maybe next year when Volume 4 comes out, it'll make us reevaluate this set in particular. But yeah, just there is too much going on in this set and not enough time to do it. I have other issues as well. Like, the big one is just the fact that Zoe is now a part of Season 6B. I don't know how I feel about this. Yes, I called it an issue, but it's not a bad thing. I do like Zoe. It's just it's the expanded universe nerd in me going, why? Like, yes, Doctor Who, when Doctor Who has touched on Season 6B, it's been very scant and kind of alluding to it without directly referencing it. I think it's only ever been, Season 6B prior to this has only ever been done once in a book. But what little we've had about it, Season 6B has always said, it's either just been the Doctor or the Doctor and Jamie. Like, I think the only thing to the otherwise was the two Doctors, which hinted that Victoria may have been a part of it as well. And again, this is not me bashing the decision. I like Zoe. Of the various iterations of the second Doctor TARDIS team, you know, the Dr. Ben and Polly, the Dr. Ben, Polly, and Jamie, the Dr. Jamie and Victoria, the Doctor and Jamie, and then the Dr. Jamie and Zoe. The Dr. Jamie and Zoe is my favorite iteration. But it's just, yeah, it's like a lot of the stuff that happened with Series 14, if you remember my reviews of those. It's just, the expanded universe nerd in me is having issues. And I recognize that I do have to let those issues go, because the expanded universe is going to contradict and retcon itself continuously. But yeah, it's just, Zoe is a part of Season 6B now, and I just don't know how I feel about that. Nothing against it. Again, I like Zoe. Wendy Padbury is good, as always. It's just, it strikes me as kind of a weird decision. That being said, that's a good transition into segue into performances, actually. Fraser Hines and Wendy Padbury are good here. It is kind of disappointing in the vein that they're just kind of going through the motions with their characters. Like, we do get some good stuff here and there. Like, after reuniting, after the Dr. Jamie and Zoe all reunite, there is a moment where they think Zoe is dead. And Fraser Hines has this really great scene where he finally lashes out at the Doctor about everything they've been through. And then further down the line, there is a similar moment with Zoe, where she's talking to one of the side characters in the stories about her retrospective on her time with the Doctor now that she's older. They do get some good moments, but they are sidelined for a lot of this set. The true stars of this set are Michael Troughton as the Doctor and Emma Noakes as Raven. Troughton is getting to do something interesting here. Like, we are kind of getting more, which, given the whole premise of the revamped Second Doctor Adventures, has been Season 6B, but here, really, we are getting more of this, the Doctor not in control, which is always kind of interesting with the Second Doctor. Remember, in a lot of ways, the Second Doctor is a precursor to the Seventh Doctor. You know, this clownish, buffoonish personality he puts out is really just a smokescreen to throw people off, hiding kind of a darker side, a sort of master manipulator side. It's not to the extreme degree of the Seventh Doctor, who oftentimes will have already won before the story even begins, before the TARDIS even lands wherever the Doctor is going, but there is always this sense that the Second Doctor is in control of the situation the entire time. And here, much like in Patrick Troughton's final story, the War Games, that actually isn't the case. And, you know, we kind of see the Doctor on the back foot, you know, trying to regain control that he never had in the first place. It's a side of the Second Doctor that we don't see a lot, but is always kind of fascinating, and Troughton does play it wonderfully. But now let's talk about Emma Noakes as Raven, the standout performance of this set. So, throughout the Second Doctor Adventures, I think I've said this in my past reviews, Raven is kind of the Doctor's handler. She is a member of the Celestial Intervention Agency, and she's kind of the one in charge of the Doctor, the one monitoring his progress, dispatching him on missions. Here, after the events of the previous set, James Robert McCrimmon, we see her in a similar position of not being in control. It's kind of been hinted at in the previous sets, but here it is very firmly started that Raven is not the be-all, end-all of what's going on. She is just another rung on the ladder, and there is someone higher up than her. But she has always been in control, or put on airs like she is in control, and now she's not, and she hates it. She is unnerved by it. And the Doctor loves to niggle her about it. And Michael Troughton and Emma Noakes have great scenes arguing about their different ideals and perspectives. Like, the Doctor wants to see the best in everything. He wants to do good in the universe. And Raven won't let him if it contradicts with the objectives of the mission. Like, there is even a point where she ultimately doesn't do anything, but she points a staser at the Doctor, threatening him to do as he's told and not go looking for Jamie. It's a really good clash of ideals, and it continues to be good as the series progresses, and as this set progresses, and the Doctor and Raven are kind of forced to work together. The ending is a little disappointing. It ends on a cliffhanger that is meant to lead into Volume 4, obviously. But it feels like you were supposed to have forgotten about the events of Beyond War Games. Like, it's framed as a twist reveal to the audience. So, kind of let me set the stage for this a bit. In that first story, Kippers, the Kippers are sort of this weird entity. Like, in my mind, the sound design kind of makes them seem like one of those sentient dust clouds you'd see in sci-fi for a time, or, you know, like a dust cloud or a smog monster or something like that. And they have repeatedly shown up throughout the set, attacking or trying to steer events towards what their ultimate end goal is. And in the final story of the set, they find that they kind of exist outside of time, but there is this weird juncture where they're coalescing around and forming. And that happens to be Skaro. So, yeah, obviously it's a really good tie-in into Beyond War Games because, okay, let me set the stage again. In Patrick Troughton's first season, his first season actually began and ended with Dalek stories. The power of the Daleks and the evil of the Daleks. The evil of the Daleks, for a time, saw the Daleks defeated for good, because Terry Nation, behind the scenes, wanted to start a Dalek series. So, like, yeah, the Daleks were gone for good and wiped out forever. And then, in Beyond War Games, the Doctor was sent on a mission to Skaro, and the Daleks were trying to come back into time. In fact, the Time Lord operative, Celestin, that the Doctor retrieved in that first story, it turns out he is kind of a human version of the Dalek Emperor. So and now we get this, and there's really nothing about that plot. And in my review of Beyond War Games, sorry, I'm all over the place. In my review of Beyond War Games, I mentioned it seemed like Raven's endgame was she wanted to start the Time War. But here, again, going back to the way this series ends, with the reveal that the Kippers are kind of coalescing or originating from it, I don't remember what exactly it was, around Skaro, it feels like the events of Beyond War Games were forgotten for the sake of the twist. But, you know, because I've listened to these and I remember those events, it just feels disappointing. There are good things about the Second Doctor Adventures Volume 3 Beyond War Games. Sorry, Conspiracy of Raven. I was just making a bunch of comparisons to Beyond War Games. Primarily the performances between Michael Troughton and Emma Noakes. Actually, you know what this set kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of a Bernice Summerfield set. The New Adventures of Bernice Summerfield Volume 2, The Triumph of Sutek. Both sets consist of kind of unremarkable, almost kind of bland individual stories, but the narrative on the whole they're telling is a lot better. Like, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. But like I said, it is the weakest Second Doctor Adventure set. It's only really kind of helped by some interesting ideas here and there, and great performances, particularly from Michael Troughton and Emma Noakes. I do want to see where this set goes, but given just the overall blah I feel for this, I am kind of worried. But those are just my thoughts. Have you had the chance to hear Conspiracy of Raven yet? What are yours? Start a conversation in the comments below, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload, and in the description box below you will find the link to my socials where you can follow me and get updates on the channel. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time.